Welcome to Money Justice Inside the Courtroom with Tim Felice.
Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new episode of Money Justice Inside the Courtroom with attorney Tim Felice. I'm your host, Mike Leon. Tim is the founder of Felice Trial Attorneys out in Florida, a personal injury firm out there known for taking on serious and catastrophic cases in the courtroom. And with more than 20 years of trial experience, he is dedicated to securing full justice for those harmed by negligence. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what to do after a car crash in the state of Florida. I'm going to walk you through the steps that can protect both your health and your legal rights. I live in the state of Florida, so I'm dying to hear this. Tim, good to see you as always. What is the first step someone should take after a car crash in the state of Florida to ensure their safety and protect their rights?
Hey, Mike, it's good to see you again. Thanks for having me. It's interesting. So if you're involved in a motor vehicle crash, you must call the police. I can't tell you how many times people don't do that. You need to get a police report. It doesn't matter if you're on your way to a wedding or some other function and you want to get there. It doesn't matter if there's not a lot of visible property damage on either of the cars. You have to get a police report. You have to. So that's one of the biggest things I can tell you. Some people don't do it. Secondly, don't move your cars. Do not move the vehicles. Not until the police come. So I can give you an example. I was involved in a motor vehicle crash as a kid. A girl pulled out in front of me and I T-boned her. She ended up off the other side of the road. We went and moved my car off the road and changed the direction. So when the police showed up, it actually looked like I had hit her as opposed to her pulling out in front of me. So do not move your cars.
Wow.
Other thing is get names and telephone numbers of witnesses. It's so unfortunate because there are so many crashes in Florida and there are so many witnesses to these crashes. And unfortunately, they either don't stay around to talk to the police or the police may not know to speak to them. And then their names and their numbers, they never get entered anywhere and they disappear into the ether. It's so important to get those things done. And then after the crash, make sure you photograph the scene. Make sure you videotape the scene. And not just of the property damage to the cars, but the areas around it. If it's an intersection, if there are other buildings around, because we may be able to get video either from cameras that are like red light cameras, possibly cameras that are in other buildings like grocery stores or pharmacies. Oftentimes they'll have cameras that shoot outside. So we've been able to get information like that, but only when we know it's available. So it's very important to do that. Yeah. And obviously, the biggest thing is make sure you and anyone that's in the car that you're okay. You get medical treatment if you need it immediately, and make sure you check on the other driver and anyone else involved and see if they need any medical attention too.
Tim, I wish I had you a few months ago for some advice on this. But let me ask you. You said something about making sure you call the police and get the crash report. Why is that so important, even if the crash is so minor?
Unfortunately, there are many people that have been involved in motor vehicle crashes that say, hey, we don't want to call the insurance carriers. We don't want to get a police report. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'll pay for your damage. I'll pay for your doctor's bills. And then they don't. And then when you go and report it later, then it's a fight over, oh, wait a minute. I didn't hit that person. That's what the defendant says, right? Or it's not my fault. He cut me off. No, you need to get a police report immediately. You need to get the witnesses, hopefully independent witnesses. You need to document that now. Your insurance carrier will oftentimes require it. And if you don't have it, they're going to ask you why. And it doesn't make sense not to get a police report.
Tim, Florida's a no-fault state. I would love for you to explain to our audience, what does that mean for people that are involved in a car crash?
It's funny you say that because no fault, it doesn't mean what people think it means. When people say, oh, it's a no-fault state, that means that, well, there's no one at fault. That's not what it is. Under Florida law, if you're going to operate a car in Florida, if you own one, you register it in Florida, you have to have certain types of insurance coverage. You have to have property damage coverage. So if you cause damage to another person's vehicle or, trees, whatever property, you have to cover that. And you're obligated to have personal injury protection coverage, which is called PIP or PIP. PIP provides medical and lost wages benefits to you through your insurance policy, regardless of fault. Meaning, if you cause the crash, if you rear end somebody, your insurance company still pays for the first $10,000 in your medical treatment and your lost wages. It doesn't matter who's at fault. So that's why it's a little different. Part of the problem in Florida, though, is that the legislature only requires PIP and property damage. The other insurances that you can purchase, and everybody should, is bodily injury coverage. So bodily injury coverage protects you. If you hit somebody else and you hurt their body, you hurt them as a human being, bodily injury coverage will protect you, and that insurance carrier will try to resolve the claim and get a release to protect you if you hurt somebody else. And if you buy bodily injury, which you should, the insurance carriers are obligated to offer you uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage. So that's insurance coverage that protects you. If you're involved in a motor vehicle crash and you get hurt, and the person that hurt you doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough insurance, then you can make a claim against your own insurance carrier for your damages, for your injuries to your body.
Tim, let me ask you, you mentioned a second ago about going to the doctor if you feel you've been hurt in this crash and seeking the medical attention right away. Why is it important, A, to do that? And why can waiting to do that hurt both, not only your health, but your claim?
Yeah, so it's funny you say this. So there's really two prongs to that. First off, don't get medical treatment if you don't need it. Okay? We don't need fraudulent claims being filed. If you're not hurt, don't see a doctor. That's not what insurance is for. That is not what it's about when it comes to being involved in a motor vehicle crash. But if you are hurt, no matter how minimal you might think it may be, if you have any pain because of that car crash, go see a doctor. I always recommend people go to the hospital if you can. If you can't, go to an urgent care center. If you can't do that, see somebody immediately to take care of you. Because I've seen many times where people have a car crash and then they wait to go see the doctor because they say, I'm going to be better. I took some Tylenol. I put heat on and, I hopped in a cold shower and I thought it'd be better. And then days go by and it's not better. And then sometimes weeks go by and it's not better. Well, if it goes that long, you've got a couple of problems, right? The biggest thing is that under Florida law, your PIP coverage, you have to have treatment within 14 days of your crash. If you don't get any treatment at all during that time period, you literally do not get the benefits that you've been paying a fortune to the insurance carriers for. They don't have to give you anything. And even so, if you get injured in the beginning and you don't have what a doctor would consider an emergency medical condition, then you're limited to only $2,500 in personal injury protection benefits and lost wages and medical bills. So you do not want to lose out on the benefit for something that you pay so much money for, and then when you need to use it, the insurance carriers are not going to want to give it to you, or they'll fight you because you thought you'd be better and you finally made it to the doctor, 15 plus days later. The other thing is it tells the insurance carrier that, this person is hurt. Because oftentimes if you don't get treatment immediately, the insurance carrier's adjusters, their knee-jerk reaction is they're not hurt. And we all know that that's just not true. Even defense doctors, I've had them testify that, yes, someone could be involved in a motor vehicle crash on a Monday. They may not feel pain for a couple of days because of everything going on in the body. So it doesn't mean that they're not hurt. But to an insurance carrier adjuster, it means you're not hurt.
Yeah.
So don't give them the ammunition to fight with you.
Tim, let me ask you you just mentioned the insurance carriers. So when should a driver actually contact their insurance company after the crash? And what would you advise them to avoid saying in those early conversations?
When we're talking specifically about the client's own insurance carrier, you have an obligation, a duty under your policy to report that claim, that crash, in a reasonable amount of time. It's not really defined, but you want to do it as soon as possible. You want to call them, preferably have somebody else call them so you're not in direct communication with the insurance carrier yourself. Either another office or preferably a spouse, a child, someone else to call them to just report the claim, to give them the date, the time, a brief description of what happened, not a full-blown statement, so that you can get a claim number, because you're going to want that claim number to give to the doctors that you're going to see, whether it's the hospital, urgent care, or primary care, or another physician you're going to go see. You want to have that claim number, because your health insurance will not pay for that medical treatment until your personal injury protection benefits have been exhausted. One of the biggest things you want to avoid is giving a recorded statement in the beginning, especially when you have uninsured motorist coverage. Because even though they're your insurance carrier, they are not your friend. They are not there to help you. They are there to give you the information they are obligated to give you by law and by contract. And it's like what you see on TV. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. We see that in criminal cases, law and orders all the time. Same thing in a civil case. Anything you tell that insurance carrier, if they can use it against you, they're going to. So do not give them any additional information other than what is needed just to get your claim number. After that, hire an attorney, assuming that you are hurt, you have injuries, and you're going to make a real claim. Hire a lawyer. And if your insurance carrier requires a recorded statement, you do not do that unless your lawyer is with you, either in person, by Zoom, or by telephone. You do not give statements to your own insurance carriers without your lawyer being there.
So, Tim, now they've hired you. What missteps do you see sometimes clients make after a crash that could potentially jeopardize their case from a legal perspective?
The biggest thing is not listening to what their doctors tell them to do. If their doctors tell them to get treatment, they should get the treatment if they need it, right? Oftentimes, they don't want to get the treatment. They're afraid. They might have a bad spinal injury and they need spinal surgery, and they're afraid to have that surgery. Well, by not getting the medical treatment that the doctors are recommending you to have, and something that you believe you need, you're giving the insurance carriers ammunition to sit back and say, well, wait a minute. You trust your doctors, right? Your doctors recommended you to do this, but you didn't do it. Well, how hurt can you be? Right? So one of the biggest things is following through with what the doctors tell you to do. The other thing is listening to any restrictions they give you. If a doctor says, listen, you've got a problem with your lower back, don't lift anything greater than 10 pounds. Don't do it. It's as simple as that. Don't do it. Because inevitably, the insurance carrier will hire somebody, a spy, to go videotape you. And they'll find someone doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And it's not because they're doing something fraudulent. It's not because they're lying about it. It's just because everyone has a life to live, and they know that you need to do whatever it is you do during the course of your day. But they'll hold it against you. Those are probably some of the biggest things that you can do when it comes to your body. Now, the number one worst thing you can ever possibly do in any of these things is post on social media. We can't stress enough. Do not post anything at all in any way on social media if you have been involved in a crash, you're making a claim and there's a possibility you're going to file a lawsuit. Do not do it. Don't post pictures from 5 years ago now, because that cruise that you took and that zip line you did back in 2010 that you go post on your feed in 2025 is going to be put front and center in front of the jury. And there's not going to be any context given by the insurance carrier lawyers. We're going to have to do it. And we don't want to explain things like that. Social media has destroyed more cases than just about anything that I've seen in the past 2 decades of my practice.
Listen to doctors. Don't post on social media. What other advice would you give the Floridians out there to prepare themselves in case a car crash does happen?
The biggest thing you need to do is make sure that you have adequate insurance. And I know it's expensive and it's been going up despite the lies the insurance carriers have spun and the wool they pulled over all the legislature's eyes. Our automobile insurance has been going up when it's supposedly supposed to be going down. So you've got to make sure you buy bodily injury coverage. You have to, because you should protect somebody else if you hurt them. But for a selfish reason is you have to buy bodily injury because you've got to go buy uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. It is so important because there are so many people in Florida driving with no insurance at all, not even the minimum requirements. But even so, because our legislature in their infinite wisdom thinks it's more important to protect someone else's car and not someone else's body, most people or many people won't even have bodily injury coverage. So you've got to protect yourself, preferably at least $100,000 per person, $300,000 per motor vehicle crash in bodily injury coverage and uninsured motorist coverage. That should be your minimum. You should have that at least, but preferably $250,000 per person, $500,000 per motor vehicle crash. That's where everyone should be. If you can afford it, you should purchase it. And then separately, if you have additional assets to protect, buy an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy for $1 million that will cover you if, God forbid, you cause someone else damage for more than what your bodily injury number is. Your umbrella insurance will come in and protect you there. But you can also get, through that umbrella policy, in addition to bodily injury, you can also get uninsured motorist with that insurance carrier. So you want that to be $1 million in bodily injury coverage and $1 million in uninsured motorist coverage. And you want it with a different insurance carrier than your underlying automobile insurance policy. So if you've got Geico for your auto policy, you want any other company other than Geico to be your umbrella policy. You never want them to be the same insurance carrier.
Good advice for folks out there. Tim, thanks as always for the time and insights on this. We truly appreciate it.
Bro, thanks for having me.
And thank you to everybody for listening to another installment of Money Justice Inside the Courtroom with Tim Felice. If you've been in a car crash and you want clear guidance on your rights and options, do me a favor right now. Visit injurytrialattorneys.com to connect with Tim and the team. And don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review and comment, or just share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.